Pricing Masters, your code to unlock the profitability and growth of your company. The best pricing and monetization strategies from ValueShip's experts.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Pricing Masters. This is Maciej.
My name is Chris.
And today we're going to discuss a little bit of value, a little bit on how to calculate it, how to truly come with a quantified value proposition, both on the enterprise markets, but also on SMB. We're going to deep dive into how to run a primary pricing survey research. And I think it's going to be an exciting episode. A lot of the things will be happening today. But Chris, kind of coming to the point of the value, how would you describe the quantified value proposition?
Quantified value is how you actually communicating the value of your product or a service to the market. As we know, SaaS companies typically, if you think about it, either optimize your costs, right? So we are saving time, we are optimizing different things that actually influence the cost, or are actually working on the revenue that you as a company generate.
So either cost factor or revenue factor, basically, which is kind of coming on the profitability of the company at the end of the day.
Yes, and of course, as a company, you need to communicate the value, right? We are helping you to coordinate the tasks in your company. We are saving time through automating the communication to your clients. And this is like the value communication. If you are proficient in marketing, you should not calculate, but you should communicate the value that influence the success of your clients.
Okay.
Quantified, the difference between communicating a value and communicating quantified value is that in quantified value, you give a specific number, a specific dollarized value, exactly, that you are giving to your clients. So think about it, instead of saying saving time through marketing automation, you can say saving $1,000 through communicating with your clients automatically or through sending an emails automatically.
What you're saying is putting the dollar tag to our value proposition, like in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Right? So instead of saying save time or whatever, save money on unwanted calls, you can say save $100,000 a month without having unwanted calls.
It might seem like a cosmetic change, right? I mean, you add a number to the value that you are communicating. But what was like in the first projects that I did, what was very maybe not surprising, but what was stunning to me, that when we A/B tested different value communication, the ones with quantified value were always more successful with the ones that were a bit fluffy, right? Save time, increase the revenue.
Everyone's saving time,
right? But if you can quantify it, actually it means that you spend some time in calculating it, and most likely you have some case studies that can prove the value.
Proof.
Yeah, exactly. The value proof. So, very long answer for the very short question, but quantified value is actually a communication lever where not only you say what you are offering, but you add very specific details to your communication.
So I would say that quantified value proposition is effectively what you bring to the table in dollars based on certain value factor components that kind of summarize with each other, right?
Exactly.
Basically.
Imagine this as a transaction, right? If I'm a seller and I'm telling you, hey Maciej, with my tool, I will save the time of your employees.
How?
You are like, yeah, great. Oh, will do marketing automation. You are thinking, yeah, he will save time, but how much time?
He talks about product right now. It's a marketing automation tool. But okay, so how would you kind of cascade this value proposition in a more granular way?
Of course. So when thinking about actually quantifying the value, so we have a transaction, and now instead of saying I will save your time, I will tell you I will save time of 2 FTEs, so full-time employees for you. And then you're thinking, 2 FTEs, this is like this amount of dollars, okay, there is money on the table, let's think of this solution. How to come up with this quantified value. So you need to come back to the profit equation actually, right? If you want to optimize a company, if you want to do it, you either can factor costs, right, or the increase of the revenue. So good quantified value most likely will be anchored either on the cost decrease or the revenue increase. And then while quantifying it, you need to find a couple of things. So you need to find a value driver. So something, a feature, a thing in your tool that will actually make it possible to save time.
Capability that adds a worth to your product or service.
Exactly. So something that saves money or increase revenue, so bring you more money.
So for instance, if I understand it correctly, this is, we imagine that we have a cost saving tool. And we have like, so you have, dear Chris, you have a factory, right? Like, like sit down and this is like, I will tell you how it works, you know, like as a seller, right? You have a factory producing whatever thing, widgets, Acme widgets, obviously, the classic MBA case study. There is a company producing widgets. You have $1 million of annual electricity costs. You implement my great widget, you just plug it in and it simply works. It basically saving you $200,000 a year, and for me, and if you want to buy it for me today, it will cost you $10,000. So kind of it is taking the problem, our electricity costs, understanding how much I can contribute to this, like solve this problem, but how much I'm actually contributing, and taking a fraction in terms of the pricing of this value. Is it that simple?
Yes, it is that simple. When we are talking about that, but you need to come up with this 200,000 that you are saving, and I think this is the most tricky part, because as a person who is selling, or actually as a person who is trying to figure out what price is the value-based price, you need to have a more credible conversation with your potential customer.
So how do you find the data for that?
So there are a couple of things that you need to take into consideration. First, understand what problem you are solving, right? If this is an electricity cost, think of this feature, this something that can save this electricity cost that will be credible for your audience, and audience, it will be easy to understand. It can't be too complex, right? Then the second thing, so this is in your product. You should basically, while building this product, this shouldn't be that hard. Then you think, okay, how I actually can calculate this value to my end customer. And what you need to find is a value metric that you will anchor at this at the client, right? So you need to think what will be the basis for the calculation of the value that you are saving, right? So for example, in your case, it would be cost of electricity and how much electricity is consumed by, I don't know, this machine X, right? So you're asking your clients how many machines you are having. Okay, I have 10 machines. What is the electricity cost per one machine? $10,000, whatever, right? So I have 10 machines, $10,000, 100,000 costs. And then your value driver should actually help the client understand that once implemented, the client doesn't need that many machines anymore, or these machines will be more efficient.
Okay.
And how to do it? Basically, you need to either create a case study based on your previous experiences on one hand side, on the other hand side, and I think it's not either or, you need to do the two things. So you need to gather the data from your clients, do some either due diligence or interview with your clients, or interview with the peers, or interview with your previous clients. So this is the one thing. The other thing, okay, you need to know the electricity cost, right? You need to know what the industry is about.
Data, very often different market data. So you have like your own data, like that you have from your customers. This is as an input. the market data that are useful benchmarks. So the companies that implemented this type of solution usually get this amount of ROI. And I think the last thing, what would it be?
The last thing, besides your internal data and external data, I think also interview of the client. So you need, at the end, you need to know how many machines the client has, right?
So the input from the client, basically.
Yes.
So the customer data.
Exactly.
I would also add assumptions on top of that. So, kind of playing with a little bit of MBA level mathematics of, let's assume that we're going to reduce cost by 1%. But why you're making this assumption when we don't have it calculated? Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to sell this, that this machine will optimize certain things on this product will optimize certain processes, you are making a claim. And if you can't really make a claim on 1% difference, then why should I care? But if your value equation manages to show the real value, even if you manage to make a 1% difference, then okay, you truly have something. Then you kind of get the case studies, you get the interviews, you're actually getting what the customers are telling about it, you're getting the full ROI. Then it becomes much easier. But even the cheapest, the easiest assumptions are the best than having no assumptions at all. By the way, so kind of it's a general concept, but why should SaaS companies do it? Why should they calculate the value they contribute?
So there are a couple of reasons behind that, but if you can so calculating value will help you in putting the number, like the price tag on your product, right? This is the first thing. So as long as you know how much value you generate, more or less you should know how much should it cost, so you can justify the cost for the client of buying your tool versus the ROI that the client can expect.
So you can make it more believable. So in other words, it's like I have a certain price. And let's assume that I have calculated the value and it's more than $1 million divided into, to make it easier, $1 million to $100. So it's literally $100,000 every single month throughout the year. And my cost, and you will pay me $250 for this. So therefore I know every month. So therefore, I know that I'm taking only 2.5% of the whole value that I'm contributing to you month to month.
So of course, it is easier to justify the price if you have the value calculated, but also there's more reasons to it, right? From our case studies, we see that every time we calculate the value for our clients and every time they present it to their customers, especially in enterprise sales, if you're working with a very big company, it's easier to go through procurement.
If you're saying with the business case.
Yes, if you're saying it with the business case. The second thing, if you're presenting the value, which is like the cost reduction of revenue increase, the day after the call, when client is not using your solution, they have in mind that they're actually losing money if not using your solution.
So they are kind of caring about the adoption of the tool in this case.
Yes, and what it influences, of course, the time to decide if they should buy or shouldn't buy your tool, right? So it shortens the sales cycle.
And it also allows you to get higher prices for your deals because they are
exactly. If you calculate and if you present the value, quantified value, dollarized value that you are providing to your clients, you increase the willingness to pay for your tool.
Okay, so basically win more deals at higher prices.
Yes, sell more for more. It's that easy. But it's of course not easy to calculate the value. You need to take into consideration all the different factors. That's A. B, it's not that easy to present it because your sales team needs to be ready for all the challenges that they receive. Yeah, this looks different in my business. Our business is different. Our clients are different. Energy prices are different at night.
Customer segments are different.
Segments are different, right? So, of course, calculating it is one thing. Presenting it in the natural way that is convincing and credible for your prospective clients is the second thing. So it requires not only the very solid calculation based on the real data, good assumptions, etc., but also it requires presentation skills, sales skills, etc.
So I have seen this model of presenting the value of like frame it correctly with the customer. So what problems you're trying to solve, to kind of understand the whole, how much the product is, the problem is worth to the customer, kind of to frame it properly, then model it to the internally, right? So to calculate the stuff and basically get this initial value equation. So how much value we are actually bringing. Then there's like refine it. So when let's check if our assumptions are fair, if it's not skyrocketing, because it has to be realistic. You can't have like 1500% ROIs. It's a scam, right? And then you're presenting it to the customer, and then the customer gives you feedback, like, I don't really see that this is that much, I do believe it's slightly less, and then it's a cycle.
So
right?
you're already collaborating with the client,
and
right?
This is interesting because from what I'm seeing is like customers that are getting engaged into value-added selling process, and this is how it's even called, they are focusing on building the compelling business case with you, focusing on the numbers, like, no, in my business, this will be 1% increase or 2% increase, not 5 that you have calculated. The ROI will be much, much lower, but they are less likely to focus on the price itself.
And then each conversation helps you to have an educated discussion with your client, because you're already learning from the client about the industry. You start to understand all the nitty-gritty details. So you're, throughout these conversations, you're actually becoming, so to say, an expert in a given industry, an expert who can solve the challenge that the client has, right?
Okay, so we have this covered in the enterprise kind of section, and also to the generally, like when you have the close price and you try to come up with the right quote for the customer. Okay, so what about more of the, and this is pretty hard to do via research, via survey research. You need to come up with it via interviews, try to be creative here, right? This is a creative process. But we very often have a SMB's context where we actually can survey these people. And I think you can calculate the willingness to pay and the potential value via surveys, right? How would you do it? Are there any methods? Are there any statistical methods you can use to actually ask your customers via survey?
Yes, exactly. So this is a different concept, right? In maybe not, yeah, it is a different concept. In enterprise sales, when you have different meetings, sales cycles are long, etc., it makes sense to come up with a value equation, to have educated discussion, and also to work on the KPIs that I've just mentioned with your clients. SMB context is a bit different.
And also B2C, because
B2C, yeah, it's a bit different, right? I mean, you have thousands of clients. You will not have thousands of salespeople if you're an SMB company, or even if you're a mid-market company that will have time to come up with a value equation with your client. It wouldn't be efficient for you. Of course, it doesn't mean that you don't have to calculate the value. You should, and you should present it on your website. But then pricing game is a bit different. I think in the SMB context, statistical methods, survey methods are the ones that will that you can benefit the most while calculate the pricing. And there are a couple of things that you can use. I think that there are two tools that I am using the most. First of all is Van Westendorp method.
So the price sensitivity meter.
Exactly, right? So asking, and this is important, always your prospective clients. This is
not your current clients, but people who might be your clients.
Exactly. With the surveying them with a PSM method. Of course, you can boost your sample with your current clients. That's fine, but you need to segment it, of course. But if there is one thing and you have only one sample that you need to choose, always choose your prospective clients. Why? Because if you ask your current clients, your PSM will be always either exactly in your current price
Anchored.
or a bit below. Why? Imagine the salary survey, right? If you ask your employees how much, if they are earning enough, of course, no, right? And this is the same with pricing.
Maybe a little bit on how PSM actually works, so you guys know. This is a price sensitivity meter, Van Westendorp methodology. Basically, this is about asking questions at what price would you consider the product to be too cheap, expensive, too expensive. We're actually
Simplifying it, right?
Simplifying it. There are like lines crossing, and then it shows you the optimal prices. We'll be sourcing the material below. So there's one method, the PSM, and the second method will be probably best worst choice, max diff, in which you ask about certain features. If you cross these two things, then you can basically connect with which features are actually important, which features are less important. But I think this is actually requiring another episode, I think, because we have got very deeply into the calculating value. So probably we're going to cover it and actually tell you a little bit about the statistical research methodology in the next episodes. But so you know, try looking for PSM and max diff so you get prepared for the next episodes. And focus on calculating the value first, because you would be amazed what is how little of the fraction you're actually taking from your business. And I would think this is a good moment to leave the audience with the rule of thumb of our two axes of the value sharing matrix. It is basically, there's two axes. We're showing it right now. It's what is your overall contribution to the client's success? So how much of the burden you're taking from me? So do I need to do stuff with this tool, or does that tool make it automatically, taking effectively the burden? And y-axis is how tangible is the value. So how easy it is to calculate. The more you can prove these 2 points, the more value from the total pool you can take. So if I can prove that it just plugs and works, I'm taking 50%, right? And also I can prove that this is mathematically, makes sense, right? Makes sense. I can take even more. A good rule of thumb for the SaaS companies is to take between 10 to 20% of the value they generate. And now try to make this conceptual exercise of calculating the value and compare it
to the price you actually
the prices that you're currently charging. We have covered the discounted customers, so also I'm not saying discounted customers, to the current listing price, you'd probably land somewhere between 3 to 8%. This is where we usually see. Very rarely companies have above 10% thresholds. So this is something that I think it's good to leave our audience with kind of and the kind of thinking exercise of how to calculate the value that you're actually contributing on any case study, any client case you want. You will be amazed with the results. This is something that we may leave them with. How do you?
Yes, I think so. So remember, value. Of course, you can hear it in every episode. It's crucial, but remember, communicating the value in a way we save time. It's not enough today. You need to quantify it. In order to quantify it, it's worth to actually, even if you don't want to present it on your website, sit with your team, do this exercise, try to calculate how much value you generate. See if it's aligned with your pricing, and if it's not, or if you are taking too little fraction of the value, this is a good first indicator that maybe you should do something about your pricing. Thanks for today, and there is also a book recommendation from Maciek. So what do you recommend today?
Obviously, value-added selling. This is something that we have here on the plate, but today I would like to tell you a little bit about dollarizing differentiation value from Stephen Liozu. It's a very good book about calculating it, but also in the competitive context. So how you can also play with different numbers against competition. This is actually telling you a little bit more on how to price against your competition. It's a very good piece. Also explaining this concept that we have just covered. And thank you. Keep in mind to subscribe to our channel and see you on our next episode.